Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to be doing a manicure with OPI Infinite Shine in OPI Nails the Runway. And in a previous video we did a manicure with SC Not Ready for Bed. Pretty good wear, other than one little chip. It's been a week. Okay, let's see the thumbs. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so we're gonna remove this first. So this is how I remove red nail polish. This is going to be different. I'm gonna put this away to what people are usually used to, but you'll see how this way it's much easier to remove polish that can be quite difficult to remove. So I just use pure acetone and I stick the pad onto the nail and I just hold it like this for a few seconds so it sticks. And I get a lot of questions. People are asking about the dry cuticles. As you can see, even this client does not really have a dry skin around the nails because the cuticle is the dead kind of skin, the non-living tissue that's underneath the proximal nail fold. I'll explain that later. But you can see here, it's perfectly fine, the skin around the nails. It's just that when I remove the polish with acetone, temporarily, that skin looks a little bit white and drier. But again, it's not a big deal because once we do the manicure and once we apply the oil, that's going to be gone. But that also gives me the opportunity to really see what I'm doing when I'm polishing the nails. So now I'm gonna press down and pull off. If there is a little bit of polish left, like this, I'll leave it behind. I don't go back with the same pad. This is not magic. I think it's magic. This honestly changed my life. By the way, this trick I learned from Deborah Lippman. I was watching one of her videos and that was years and years ago. I think it was on her website. And she was showing how to remove polish. And it's life-changing. So now I go back with the clean piece and just make sure that it's all clean. Because if you clean with a pad that already has a lot of dissolved polish, you're going to rub it right back into the skin. So I'm going to be doing a dry manicure like I usually do with electric file, and as you can see, it does not damage the nails. The nails are perfectly healthy. There is no mark where I previously removed the cuticle, so this is perfectly good when done properly. So you have to be very, very skilled with the machine. And you have to have a super, super light hand. Okay, so I'm going to shorten them a little bit. Shorten them a little bit. Yeah. And round like this, still? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now onto the cuticle. So I'm going to show you on this nail because you can see it a little bit better. So what I'm now kind of separating or pushing back is not a cuticle. This is a skin fold. This is proximal nail fold. It's a living skin, this part. So if this part is dry or damaged, that just means your skin is dry and damaged, not your cuticle. The cuticle is that white part here stuck to the nail underneath. It's barely visible, this part. Because when we remove it on a regular basis, there's not a lot of cuticle. So all this little white film on the nail here, this is a cuticle. So when this part here is dry, cracked, this is not cuticle. And you cannot correct dry skin by cutting it. That's not how it works. You have to protect it and you have to moisturize it, and that's how you make it look better. So by cutting it, it's not a solution. You just have to push it back on a regular basis, then it does not stick to the nail. Because what happens is, if this part is overgrown, usually it's because when the nail grows and this skin here, the living skin, is stuck to the nail and it's not pushed back on a regular basis, it's going to grow with the nail and stretch with it. So that's how it kind of looks like it's an overgrown cuticle, but it's not. So here gently I'm separating the skin fold, the proximal nail fold, which exposes the cuticle. So I'm gonna do that with all the 10 nails. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I have a lot of new viewers that are asking these questions. So this knowledge is very, very important. And cuticle also is a tissue that it's actually produced by the underside of this skin fold. So it's two completely different tissues. So they're not one, there's two like skins on the nail. One is a living skin that produces the cuticle, and the other one is the dead skin that falls off the proximal nail fold. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this looks, because this is such a small little piece of skin, so sometimes people are not really you can't really see it. Okay, so imagine that this part of the skin, this up to here, it's the towel. The nail is this part, let's just say, okay? So now the cuticle, the skin fold, produces cells that fall off. And let's just kind of see that this is what it is. And then it's on the nail like this. With the nail growing, that dead skin comes out, and that's a cuticle. This part is a cuticle. You can remove this by either pushing it off or softening and kind of pushing it off, or with electric file. But this part here is a living skin, so you cannot cut it. Now, if someone cuts the living skin, what happens? It starts to tear, because it's a fold that's now cut, and you're gonna have like multiple kind of layers that are fraying, really. And also when you cut it, because you're cutting living skin, this skin is going to get calloused and harder, because the skin is just trying to protect itself. So that's how you get, and on top of it, when it stretches too, then it just looks really, really bad. So the key is, if this is what's happening to you, to just push it back gently, and then just put nail oil, or I prefer creams with urea, because they moisturize the skin really well. And over time, it's going to really improve. Over here. So that's what I'm doing. If someone cuts that skin, then you kind of end up having to cut that area all the time, because the skin is just going to keep growing thicker and stronger, trying to protect the nail in that area. This machine I use on a very, very low speed. And I barely touch the nail. With it. And this is it. If there is some hard skin on the sides, Usually that has to be addressed again with creams. But if there is a little bit, then you can just gently exfoliate it, but you can again remove dry skin by, or fix dry skin by filing it, because it's going to look, I guess, better initially, but you didn't fix the issue. So it's just going to get thicker and more scarred. So sometimes when the skin is dry, it kind of tears almost like this. I can see there's a little tear. So I'm not going to file this too much because I know it's not going to come off that way. That little area you can clip. I'm going to do this on the very end. If you're doing this yourself, you can definitely use a cuticle remover. But personally, I prefer to do dry manicures. I can just see a little bit better. And I can polish better when I can see the area I can see the where the nail ends basically and where the skin starts. When that area is soaked with water, it's not as visible. And also when the nails are dry, so when the nails are not exposed to water for like at least 60 seconds, they hold the nail polish better. Because when you apply something on a surface that's still slightly wet, the polish will not stick to the nail properly. Because the nail, when the nail absorbs water, it expands like a sponge. So when you put nail polish on like a wet sponge, it's bigger, and then the sponge dries out and it shrinks, then the polish is just going to peel off. Washing hands is fine. I always ask the client to wash their hands because you're not washing your hands more than, let's say, like 60 seconds, right? So at that point, the skin is not, and the nail is not saturated with water. And you can see that this is not very dusty because there's not a lot of cuticle on the nail. So if you see a lot of dust flying around, it's usually when the nail is being filed, not the cuticle. So now I'm just going to clip that little area. I support my finger. Just going to smooth it out. That's it. So I'm not gonna buff the nails because I buffed them last time. They don't need to be buffed. continuous buffing weakens the nail. And when I clean the area, the cuticle area with the electric file, that kind of buffs the nail as well, so there was no catches. But when you're using a cuticle remover, then definitely there can be a little catches, little pieces of skin that are left behind. So then I would just suggest smoothing that area, the cuticle area, but not the whole nail. And I apply the cream and oil at the end of the manicure because again I like to see what I'm doing here. And if I applied cream and oil, I would still have to wipe the nails before application of the polish, so kind of it's a waste of product. Okay, so primer, Infinite Shine, which is a base coat. I get a lot of comments that the Infinite Shine is not as shiny, funny enough. So I'm wondering if this is due, and I had the same experience, and if it's due to not enough light, like the polish not drying properly at the end of the manicure. So I'm going to put the nails under the lamp for a minute and see if that kind of improves the dry time and the shine. So it's not a UV cured top coat, but it does have some light sensitive ingredients which may be activated a little bit better with the UV lamp. I'm not sure, we'll see. Okay, this is already pretty dry. Okay, so this is pretty sheer, so we'll see how this covers in 2 coats. Okay, I'm gonna let them dry for a couple minutes now between the coats. Okay, almost 2 minutes. And they're actually pretty, they're tacky still a little bit, but they're not fully, they're not that wet anymore. Not fully dry, but kind of set. So second coat, let's see how this looks. It looks good. It doesn't give complete coverage. It has that soft look. Okay, so now the question is 2 coats or 3 coats? Let me know, guys, what you think in the comment section, because I'm curious if majority of people like the slightly shadier look or more opaque. My guess is going to be a little bit more opaque. What do you think? 3? Would you do 3? Okay, we'll do 3. Okay, so I'm gonna let them dry another 2 minutes. Okay, it's been 3 minutes. Okay, good. It's drying well. Usually each coat you add, the longer each one of them dries. So the first coat dries in like fully 2 minutes. The second one, it's going to be at least 3, and so on with regular polishes. Normally I'm not a big fan of OPI brushes, but this one is kind of good. I have a link to, if you're interested in changing your brushes. I'm gonna put a link below. It's not bad. I think some of them are just too wide and they don't fit the nails properly. And I'm gonna let them dry for 2 minutes and we'll do the top coat. Two minutes later. So the best thing to do is to dry them as long as you can. Still, I'm gonna give it another minute because they feel still tacky. So another minute. 5 minutes. Wow. Okay, better. Not fully dry, but not that tacky anymore. So I'm applying kind of a medium coat. It's not very thin, it's not very thick. With some top coats, when you apply it too thick, it becomes, they kind of shrink. The key is keeping the bottle's neck clean, this part, because if it's kind of messy, you don't get a good seal and air gets in. So that's the best way to prevent nail polish from getting thick, is to clean and keep the lid closed as much as you can by keeping the neck clean. Okay, now I'm going to put them under the light for a minute and then give them additional 4 minutes to dry. So a total of 5 minutes. Okay, so this is 2 minutes and I dried it for 1 minute and you know, they're not bad. Now, interesting thing. They say not to use any quick dry drops with the Infinite Shine. I didn't know that in the past. So we're not gonna use anything. We're gonna give it 5 minutes to dry and then I'm just gonna use the regular oil and cream. Okay, exactly 5 minutes later. So I put them under the light for another minute. Not bad. Not fully dry, but they're pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to do oil, finally. Okay, this is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.